There are rules in life, and unfortunately we have to abide by those. Some are made up things like taxation and when to cross the road, others are defined by physics and the knowledge of the highest civilization at the time, and I say this when Civilization 7 is just about to come out. But these are rules such as how fast a weapon can fire. Here I am scrubbing my way through a particularly popular game, using my favourite weapon when it had ammo, which shoots so unbelievably slow but is nonetheless very satisfying. Of course, engineers have thought about this throughout the years and came up with ingenious solutions. Here is my chain gun, which of course is not really one gun firing many bullets, but a range of guns taking their turns to fire them instead. But there are drawbacks. They produce a huge amount of heat, use up so much ammunition, and is a bit of a pain to carry around unless you're built like a Doom guy. And that's why he's cool and I'm not. Here is Gradius, another popular game. No, wait, I hate Gradius. Let's swap it out for something else. Here is Nemesis, a Konami shmup from the mid-80s, very popular in America. And here is me shooting normally by holding down the fire button. Now let's cheat. Let's use Autofire, which on an 8-bit DOE is mostly easy. There's a button you can press, like many controllers since the dawn of time, and by that I mean the NES Advantage. But there is a limit to how many shots can be displayed at one time. That's why point blanking can often be a great thing. Here is Darius. Again, Autofire helps immensely and was used widely in Japanese arcades because they are probably enjoying having lower rates of arthritis right now. But again, a limit of shots has been programmed in, maybe for technical reasons due to sprite limits, maybe just because they know it would be used and didn't want it to completely break the game. And then there's today's game, Vimana. It's a Toaplan game, but not ranked up there as one of the classics, and probably with good reason. You can buy it on PC now. It's available on Evercade just recently on their Toaplan Arcade Free cartridge. It comes with stickers. My son loves stickers, and so we're all happy. Will it eventually come out as part of the M2 Toaplan Garage port? If you're from the future, please write a comment, but until then, let's focus on what we're seeing here, the Mr. FPGA core, with Toaplan being quite well represented in the FPGA space, at least on Mr. And we can already see that these limits, which were in place for Nemesis, who knows about Gradius, as well as Darius and many other games at the time, is less here. It seems like a never-ending stream of projectiles being sent out with no disadvantage whatsoever. However, look closely and there is a little bit of a gap. And the worst part is, you get power-ups, and so it turns into this. Then you feel like the beginning of New Game Plus in Resident Evil 4, no matter which one. If you have the chainsaw controller, even better. So what should have been a tactical game of when to shoot quickly and when to charge an attack, yes, you can charge an attack, has turned quickly into just an infinite stream of pew-pewing. And you can hear it as well, this glorious tweeting as if birds chirping on a winter morn, how majestic it is. Or it reminds you of running a game on the Spectrum or an Amstrad for those of us old enough to remember. It was generic, but it was functional, and something that was extraordinary in the world of Toaplan. Something completely forgettable. But I needed to clear it, it was on the list, and a clear is 26 minutes long. Now, normal people would assume that they could trust me when I say I completed it, but no, this is a very particular niche. I need to provide evidence, so while I play this game with 30Hz Autofire, I will begin my greatest challenge of all, trying to make Vimana seem exciting in a Let's Play video. Let's go! It's published by Tecmo. That's quite a fun fact, isn't it? Alright, let's begin. We find ourselves emerging from a Chozo palace where we've been given the screw attack, I mean to say an entire ship, with seemingly infinite ammo, and now we've got to use it to liberate our planet, or rather, what is left of it. Vimana is a Hindu term meaning a floating palace, but it can also mean just a movable object that is carrying royalty in it, and so I guess that means I'm the king or something. And that marble that is floating around that I've just picked up, it increases my power. Now instead of peas, I'm shooting waves, and that is very important. I continue to increase my power because Vimana styled itself in the arcades as representing, and I quote here, hyper-violent shooting. One of the key aspects of the Hindu religion, as we all know from playing Civilization, but no, in reality, Gandhi wasn't that bad of a chap. He also had nothing to do with spaceflight. And coming up in a moment will be another opportunity for me to upgrade my power, but also a bonus panel which gives me extra points. You probably saw that it was a weird number. Well, those increase in point value for every one you pick up during a life. And this part here is basically a rip-off of Slap Fight, but both of them were Toaplan, so I guess they can do whatever they want. 2 buttons in total: shoot, bomb. As I described in the summary section, the shoot function can either be a charge shot or a multi-shot, and here should be another bonus if I'm lucky. Yes, I am, 12,000 points. And I've activated a bomb. I didn't need it, but this is quite fun. So instead of a Toaplan-esque skull covering the screen, I'm surrounded by orbs. And these orbs, they're enemy-seeking orbs. So not only does it get me out of danger, it also gives me a bit of a buffer. But I didn't need it, and I still don't really need it. Unlike Gekkelindan, am I saying that right yet? This is really an easy game, with plenty of opportunity to recover should you die. Now I'm in a great state because my wave attacks go out slightly to the side of the ship. Not like I need it in the moment, but with the amount of bullets being flung my way, of course, slap flight sections, technically they're the same difficulty level, makes it a bit difficult for me, but they're soon over and we can continue on our path. Oh, wait, did those things just shoot at me? Oh, for shame. Alright. Not 13,000, of course, I meant to say 1,300 on the bonus. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, with Autofire at 30 Hz, it becomes a bit of a joke. Not a complete joke, but like the kind of joke that I might tell. These enemies, which are supposed to last a little longer, are gone like a flash, and this game only ever saw a release in Japan and Europe. In Europe, we never had Autofire built into the machines, but Japan sure did. This means that the Japanese players of this machine were like gods among men. Nothing could stand in their way. Okay, sometimes there is a teensy tiny bit of resistance, but Stormblade this is not. My ship has an okay speed. And I've already got an extra life, which is great. And should be coming up an extra bomb to replenish the one that I lost before. Here it is. Does that mean possibly that a boss might be on the way? Well, let's see after this flying saucer / clamshell section. And what do you have for me, game? Nope, just 2 flying saucers, just like near the beginning of the game, but they're done a little bit quicker this time since I'm at max power. Oh, this one seems a bit more resistant, having to dodge a bit between the bullets. Okay, fair enough, it's expanding, now it's chonky, but it's dead. Who knows what devastating things could have happened if it wasn't a giant cheat. I think we can count that as a boss though, since there are only 2 breakpoints, the beginning and the end. Maybe there are checkpoints for deaths, I genuinely can't remember. Maybe. This is the 90s we're talking about, so hopefully we've grown out of that phase, but then Gekkelindan had Gradius syndrome, so who knows. This was a weird time for Toaplan though. This is 1991, their last shmup was in 89, that's if you don't count Outzone of course. This was the year of Techie Packy, a game which, thanks to M2 always including it as a download code, I technically own 3 times. Sorry, 4 times with Evercade. They would come out strong in the next year with Tatsujin O or Truxton 2, but you have to wonder if we were seeing now the long demise of Toaplan. Within the next year, the CEO would step down and they became a support studio for Rising, for Saucer Striker, but that was 2 years after this game. 2 years after someone else would have used that bomb foolishly. At the very least, Tamsoft was formed in '92, who would go on to make everybody's favourite launch fighter in the absence of anything else, called Battle Arena Toshinden. Right, I think we skipped a boss through that entire speech, but hey, new terrain. I guess that means we're starting a new stage right now. 1700 on the bonus, and it's a ravine, or a canyon. Use your imagination. Pretty simple setup here, lasers blocking our routes, but there are little circles peeking out of the sides. So of course I need to do some sweeping action to make sure I can pass through unscathed. And unscathed we shall pass. Now, let's learn when extra lives happen. I got my first at 70,000 points. Nope, we do not get our second at 140,000 points. I'm going to guess it's one of those, first life at 70, then at 100 for everything else. It's not like we have long to figure that out though, we're at almost 150,000. And we are going deeper now, and it looks like that Toaplan wants to do a bit of sprite scaling. So out of the abyss of each of these holes will come a variety of ships. Alright, we're 5 minutes in, let's talk about the story, because there's not much in the way of challenge happening here. Apparently, Vimana is the name of the character inside the ship. Right, oh no, these things are following me a little bit. Alright, fine. And our planet, according to whoever wrote the Wikipedia page, is also called Vimana, was destroyed. Oh no. There's sand now, which means sand monsters, which means I stay in the middle mostly. There are ships which will appear that will shoot directly forwards, and that is a specific trait that is worth mentioning and remembering, because it will be quite useful later for avoiding a stupid death or two. Yes, there are enemies which acknowledge your existence, therefore shooting your general direction, and enemies which are just trying to see out the day and will shoot wherever they please. Right, back to the story. So despite the planet being ripped to shreds, there are still resources to be extracted. Therefore, what we're doing is to try and stop them. Us, the warriors of Vimana, called Vimana from the planet Vimana. I feel like Vegeta in this moment. Right, apparently all of these machines of war are being controlled from one central location, the fortress of Vimana in the planet of Vimana that is not controlled by the residents of Vimana. So that was it, planet blown up, bad guys still there, kill bad guys. Oh no. Whatever the equivalent of an avalanche is without snow, and it's a boss. I've used my bomb, and it's dead. But those shots were definitely coming in my way before I used the bomb to make them magically disappear. I'm at nearly 220,000 points and I've not got a fourth life yet. The bombs do a weird thing where if I kill the enemy targeted just before they can get to them, the fragments just come back, which is why we have this little twitching movement as if they're apprehensive about what they need to do in life. Reminds me of my 20s. But they come back at the end of the day, and that is the most important thing, as I want to avoid going through this canyon naked, if at all possible. Well, the canyon's now ended, so I kept my clothes on, so go me. And something tells me, with the enemy I just destroyed, it would have been a great time to have used the charge shot. But this is a planet in ruins after all, so let's go back into space. Now, you may be getting the same impression that I am, or rather being informed of the answer as to why this is not regarded as one of Toaplan's finest creations. A game which is thoroughly ruined by Autofire, a device which was and is freely available at the time. It means that the majority of these enemies are a joke. I feel like an absolute fraud here, but the internet will tell me that I'm doing nothing wrong here. It is the measure of a good port if Autofire is available, because certainly the alternative would not be very nice on my fingers. I'm in the middle of playing the Arcade Archives release of Macross at the moment, and within that I have a variety of Autofire rates I can choose from, up to 30 Hz. But can we place this on the developer? On Toaplan themselves for this? It's not as if this was a golden age shmup in the early 80s. This was 1991, the NES Advantage had Autofire, and that controller was 4 years old by that point. Toaplan should have known Autofire was a thing. Right, was that a boss that we just passed? Well, my bombs had fun at least, and let's not forget the TurboGrafx 16, which also saw Toaplan games on it. I do enjoy the subtlety of the ground moving underneath me, but yeah, it's a bit varfy. But instead of tanks, you get mechs hiding underneath the sand, and poor mechs. What a sad life that must have been. But despite all of this is still an arcade game, and even with this great advantage afforded to us today by the Mr. Operating System, we are coming to the interesting parts, water levels, or rather a swamp, I suppose. I did not play this game at the time, so I tend to think of Mushihime-sama Stage 4 when coming here, with the enemies gliding on top of the pond. You know, for a 1991 game, the water animations were okay, and the shading underneath gives a nice impression of depth, as well as the parallax scrolling. But dangers are coming, worry not, you don't have to jump behind the sofa, it's all relative. I haven't died yet, and at the end of this spectrum, it's a wonderful thing that it hasn't happened yet, because of that syndrome. No, not Nemesis syndrome. Enemies are popping up from behind now. And they're starting to shoot at me again. There are these holes in the holes in the things, and as you saw, the inhabitants of these things were very hasty to get out. Oh my, right. It's getting a bit busy now, isn't it? And sweeping enemies, and yeah, to be completely honest, this is where I died on my first ever credit. Yes, it was not a complete walk in the park, even for me, your shmup hero of legend, because all of a sudden it's getting incredibly busy, and there is a tendency to overreact when that happens. There is this genetic instinct to launch oneself into a bullet at the sign of danger. But at the moment, I'm not overreacting. I have seemingly learned. I'm not even using my bomb. I'm being surprisingly calm in the face of all of this adversity. Where did all of this confidence come from? Not just in shmups that are harder, but other facets in life. Oh, I'm dead. That's why. So this is what happens when you die. What's that, Gradius? You want to talk to me about your syndrome? Fine. We go back to 0. I have to build up all of my power again. But thankfully, there are bombs which I can use or abuse to make sure I can pick up enough power-ups. While I'm not that sad at having a pea shooter from a power perspective, I do miss having the whip that a full power brings, because as we're entering another zone now, looks like a base, but not the base, we still have some time to go for that. Okay, this is quite fun for an animation. And here is an actual boss. There is no denying that now, but the pods at the side seem to be going down very quickly. Slow shots coming at me now, easy to weave through, and a little bit more. Yeah, we're done. Off we go, past the baked croissant of doom, and on to the next area. And what do we have here? It seems a little bit like the underground sections of Tears of the Kingdom, but we've had our bit of ancient civilization, now back to a bit of rubble and a bit of space. But this space has some interesting enemies in it, which are rendered mostly useless by my bullet barrage, but still interesting nonetheless. First, we had the ones which rammed, and now we have the strafers. You can imagine with these that if they were allowed to exist for more than 3 seconds, then the field would be awash with bullets to navigate. But instead, I do some strafing of my own to make sure they don't get the opportunity, and also to make these revenge bullets a bit more manageable. And right, another power-up, thank you very much. And it's here where I feel bad, because this is still Toaplan. There is probably a great game here to be played, and it is shown that they have put effort in. And I'm dead again. Damn you, revenge bullets. Damn you. Still, the best bombs around. But despite that unfortunate incident, I take a look at the difficulty list and see that without Autofire, this jumps from a 3 to a 5. So, still an easy game, but probably with a sore finger at the end of it. I like these guys. You can guess what's going on, hit the big one, and the rest blow up, but it's over too soon. Maybe we can get another wave. Or is it boss time? Nope, yay, another wave. And this game does loop infinitely, to which for my source of information I had to look at video, which reached loop 9, which took 3.5 hours. Yeah, I won't be doing that today. Don't worry, folks. But there is a difficulty increase, and normal enemies fire more, and your weapon gets weaker, to which I would say that the auto-fire effect would diminish, but these changes top out at loop 4. Only the final boss gets more aggressive on subsequent loops. And yes, this is still a shmup, obligatory giant spaceship stage. I like the way it does it though, because entire sections are being ripped off it. You can see the effects there, even though I'm fairly sure I didn't shoot there. But let's not ask too many questions. I'm also wondering how gravity is functioning here on a planet that has been ripped apart, which is now causing the ship parts to crash down. Oh, doesn't matter, the lights are going out on the sections, the power is lost, and off it goes, and off we go to another section. I know it's unfair, but I'm going to compare it anyway to GG Leicester 1, which has a similar spaceship armed with 1,000 turrets, but this dynamic element makes it seem much more epic than it did on that Game Gear version. I know, it's a Game Gear game, what can I possibly expect? It has a 10-minute long corridor level. Right, and we look to be coming to the end of this section, and the lights have gone off. Is this the final one? Well, it has a very long spinal cord there as we go to the final section. Yep, that looks like the head for it. And, well, that was it. Oh, okay, well, what a wet fart of an end that was. Look in the background, look at that planet. Look how it's still in one piece. Lucky planet, that one. That one probably doesn't need a lone starfighter and a prototype spaceship to save the day. That planet is probably content and sitting around with tea and a scone. The only issue being is, where do I leave the cream to put in the scone? That big ship there was more dangerous than the last boss. Maybe that was a boss, and that is a drawback of this seamless experience. The lines are blurred between what is a stage and what is not, especially when what should be a boss is done within 5 seconds. And it seems like we're doing the same planets are scrolling again in the background, although that one does look a little bit darker. Maybe it's a moon. Maybe then there's a tiny moon there as well. I'm waffling slightly, but as you can see, not much to do in the middle of space. Can we go back to land now, please, game? Right, fine. We'll just hit. Right, these guys only ram in a straight line. Those ones weave. Come on. There's an alien base waiting out there somewhere that I need to take out. But another issue with the lack of formal stages, beyond not knowing where you are in the game or where a boss is that there is no easy way to take a break. I could probably have taken one back then. But here we see why that wouldn't have been a good idea. They just show up out of nowhere. So I'm doing all of this with no water and no cheeky bites of a sandwich, whilst having a little beach ball bounce in and out and throwing donuts at me. Right. Did that count as a boss? I do not know, but at least it left a bomb for me. I'm sure if I spent more time in the game to truly master it, then I would know where the best spots are to take this break. To have this respite, instead of wandering around after a second pause if it's worth letting go of the joystick. And during that sentence was a perfect opportunity for it, but I ruined it with a monologue. And now the enemies have come back, and now we have gone to land. Ahoy! Finally! Oh, come on now. Some greenery must have survived the apocalypse. But a base, I can take that as in accept, but also conquer. Since there's a beginning and an end to it at least, rather than the darkness that is the depths of space. Alright, these things here are a weird sort of radar. Set them off and big chonky robot balls fly at you. They will only come from one port though, so it is possible just to sit in front of it and blow them all up immediately. Right, and this one here, right, I clearly did not do that properly because it rams right into me. Oh, that is very unfortunate. 3 lives left though, and bombed since I set off another one. But they are thankfully mostly well spaced apart, with minor exceptions. The big crystal ball is gone. I'm guessing that was a boss. No, these are more dangerous. You know it's bad when the ones that give items are more dangerous than the potential boss. I really shouldn't have played Gekko before this. I'm getting flashbacks. So many flashbacks. We even have the shuttles in this bit. Oh no, but do they open like a drawer? It doesn't seem like it, just blocks which spout out bullets. As long as one is taken care of quickly, and then the bullet patterns are fine. Do I get more items in these? Nope. So the first ones were prize givers, but not every single one. Good to know that they were meant to be genuinely difficult enemies charging in so fast. Oh yes, ship launchers. This is where I lost the second time. I wasn't sure where the ships were going to go, and it turns out they went directly down. Lesson learned right there. So just stay in between. Okay, so those were our prize givers again. And, oh no, more ship launchers. Well, that's how you're supposed to do it. Don't even give them the chance to open the door. But now we're changing colours. We're veering away from yellow and red to the blue end of the spectrum. Like everything by now, they could be problematic if they were allowed to live, but they are not. They do shoot quite quick though, so I have to be nimble as to quickly pick a side when I notice the sprite appears. And, oh yay, robotic worms, time for nightmare fuel. If I didn't know exactly how long this video would be, I'd say that the appearance of 2 power-ups was a sign that we're coming to the closing part of this game. And, oh no, they've opened. Great thing with max power though, I don't have to be in front of them. But at least we got to show off how quickly those ships fire directly down, and in a very muted shot colour. Unlike the Space IKEA boxes that glow purple and blue. Right, we're slowing down. It's getting a bit narrower. Nope, just opening up for another tank section. Don't worry folks, there's still more game left. I do feel like this section would have been a lot more meaningful if these were actual walls, but that'd mean having walls in a shmup, and that'd mean instant death if you touched them. So maybe it's for the best, but the scenery certainly makes no logical sense at the moment. Pew. Now this is where the third attempt was lost. The boss coming right up. Now the idea is to, shoot the core. But of course, it's protected by these arms which pull in if you hit them. You can maybe manage it so that both sides open up, but I like to do it this way of just dodging to one side. As you can see from the flashing lights, the arms are taking damage, and this is a real boss. Look at it go. It has noticeable damage indications. Yes, I fought with the yeah, maybe it was a second phase, but let's not ask too much now. The arm itself is taking damage, and I'm in the rhythm of shooting, dodging, then back to shooting. There's not really much more to add. It's an exercise in keeping up the rhythm and being ever mindful of the yellow ball being flung at me. Right, it looks like that we're coming to the end. 4 flashing balls around it now. Yes, glorious explosions. That was definitely a boss right there. And this was the point where I looked up a video to see how far away I was from the end and wept a little. Yes, we're going on. It wasn't the end boss, but it was pretty damn close. We're in our cyberpunk phase now. Is that a mechanical city underneath, or just a whole load of PCBs? This reminds me that I really need to read Blam again. It's about the end of civilization and self-building city. Quite good stuff, but let's not shift focus away from what is looking to be the last approach. Again, I'm thinking of Slap Fight with the enemies quickly coming from the side to give out pot shots, but this is much more lenient than the ending of Slap Fight, another game with difficulty level rank 3, but one which I massively disagree with. Right, oh, this is getting a little bit close, but past me Fortis to bring out one of my bomb friends. And we'll get through this gauntlet. So I've passed 870,000 though, which means an extra life. Just a quick reminder, the first extra life was at 70,000, then an extra life at each 200,000 after that, and that's why the numbering is a bit odd. And I definitely needed it, because I am dead. Right, shame that had to happen, and as a result I'm using my bomb stock quite quickly because I don't want another of those blue bombers ramming into me. Okay, right, we'll take up the bonus, and it looks like we're at the end of the section. So here come some doors. This is definitely a break before the finale. It should be. Come on now. Doors open, and down they go. Right, 20 minutes into this run, and we had our very first transition. Yes. Even arcade hardware needs to load stuff, and it seems like I'm trying my hardest to throw this run away, as I've just, well, this is getting extremely dodgy at the moment. But, you know, there's interesting artwork going on here with the shading, and it looks like it's covered with clouds. If I had to guess, I would say that more effort went into this stage than anything else combined, which is why it probably needs to be loaded in specifically. Alright, of those 4 items there, one of them is going to be a 1-up, which is nice, right before the end. And to use a phase that I'll be using often in this game, it's going to throw everything at me but the kitchen sink. Imagine if this was the game all along. Oh, how exciting that would have been. Instead of padding this out with overly long space sections. Right, they're bouncing in from all sides to meet their doom, and I am dead. Oh, but the points are racking in quickly, coming up to, well, just a little bit over 1 million now. And some power-ups. My bomb stock is restored. And we're having another transition. Maybe I was right to compare this to GGLS 1 after all. They did both come out in 1991, but I think Vimana was first. Down we go for hopefully the last one. Oh no, Gekerinden, or rather, what may have inspired them, since this was comfortably before that game, although former Toaplan, so maybe they share the same development team, as in the same individual devs. I might compare credits later on out of sheer curiosity. But hey, look at this, look at the turrets going on there. Oh no, I lost an extra life. Again, I was going to say look at the intricacies of the sprites at work here, but clearly I would have to pay attention now. These enemies are, dare I say it, dangerous? Well, wasn't that a nice ship that brought me to max power? That can only mean one thing, and I mean it this time, eventually. Right, we have ships on the bottom, and they just move? What happened? Did I miss something? Oh no. So, there's a threat down below, and if there's anything I hate more in Shmup life, it's dodging stuff that comes from behind. Alright, I'm dead, but I got an extra life, but we're now in phase 2. This is going awfully quickly. There were mechanics, but they're done. They involve mechanical snakes or worms or something, but we've beaten the game. It's congratulating me now with Not one, but 2 exclamation marks. That's how amazing this achievement was. Now comes the story, entirely in Japanese. We've blown up the base though, that's all that counts, and with that, Vimana is done. And I guess the home planet is now okay again, or we found a new one to colonize. Doesn't matter, here's some text. Shockingly, Google Translate has massacred this translation. So they need to find a new home planet after all. They left their original planet behind, and then this goes on to another adventure. But like I said earlier, it loops infinitely. So this is where I leave you all. If you did make it this far in this legendary journey of continuous pew-pewing, then thank you so much, and I hope to see you again the next time, where I think we'll be getting a bit more difficult. Instead of a planet, we'll look for a star. A blazing star. Bye now.